companions of his solar one, or eye, of his solar eye, which is a capital I guess it could be Roman numeral 1. Satellite companions of his solar one, a master of his life's environment, a leader of a huddled human mass, hurting for safety on a dangerous earth. Hurting for safety on a dangerous earth, he gathered them round him as if a minor power. Hold on, I gotta concentrate. He gathered them round him as if minor powers to make a common front against the world, or weaken soul on an indifferent earth as a fortress for his undefeated heart, or else to heal his body's loneliness. In others than his kind he sensed a foe, an alien unlike force to shun and fear. A stranger and adversary to hate and slay. Lay down, Beatles. Let me get your belly. Come on, let me get your belly. Quit licking that foot. A stranger adversary to hate and slay. Come on, lay down. That's my girly girl. Good girl. That's my girly girl. Or he lived as lives the solitary brute, at war with all he bore, his single fate. Absorbed in the present act, the fleeting days, none thought to look beyond the hour's gains, or dreamed to make this earth a fairer world, or felt some touch divine surprise his heart, the gladness that the fugitive moment gave, the desire grasped, the bliss, the experience won. Movement and speed and strength were joy enough, and bodily longing shared and quarrel and play. And tears and laughter and the need called love, and war and clasp these life's wants joined the all-life. Wrestlings of a divided unity, inflicting mutual grief. Inflicting mutual grief and happiness, in ignorance of the self forever one, arming its creatures with delight and hope. A half-awakened nescience struggled there, to know by sight and touch the outside of things. Instinct was formed in memory's crowded sleep. The past lived on as a bottomless sea, inverting into half-thought, and the quickened sense she felt around for truth with fumbling hands. Clutch to her the little she could reach and seize, and put aside in her subconscious cave. She must the dim being grow in light and force and rise to its higher destiny at last. Smoke break. Okay, welcome back. We continue on line 500. Look up to God and round at the universe, and learn by failure and progress by fall, and learn by failure and progress by fall, and battle with environment and doom. By suffering discover his deep soul, and by possessing grow to his own vast. And by possession grow to his own vast. Halfway she stopped and found her path no more. Still nothing was achieved but to begin. Yet finished seemed the circle of her force. Only she had beaten out sparks of ignorance. Only the life could think and not the mind. Only the sense could feel, not the soul. Only was lit some heat of the flame of life, some joy to be, some rapturous leaps of sense. All was an impetus of half-conscious force, a spirit sprawling, drowned in dense life foam, a vague self grasping at the shape of things, behind all moved, seeking for vessels to hold. A first raw vintage of the grapes of God, on earth's mud a spliff of the supernatural bliss, intoxicating the stupefied soul and mind, a heady wine of rapture dark and crude, dim, uncast, yet into spiritual form, obscure, inhabitant of the whole world's blind core, an unborn Godhead's will, a mute desire. A third creation now revealed its face. A mold of body's earthly mind was made. A glint of light kindled the obscure world force. It dowered a driven world with the seeing idea. It armed the act with thought's dynamic point. A small thinking being watched the works of time. A difficult evolution from below. Called a masked intervention from above. Else this great, blind, and conscient universe could never have disclosed its hidden truth. Or even the blinkers worked in beast and man. The intelligence that devised the cosmic scheme, at first he saw a dim, obscure mind power, moving concealed by matter and dumb life. A current thin, it streamed in life's vast flow, tossing and drifting under a drifting sky, amid the surge and glimmering, tremulous wash. Released a splash of sense and feelings waves. In the deep mist of the insentient world, its huddled waves and foam of consciousness ran, pressing and eddying through a narrow strait, carrying experience in its crowded pace. It flowed, emerging into upper light. From the deep pool of its subliminal birth, to reach some high existence still unknown, there was no thinking self, aim there was none. All was unorganized stress and seekings vague. Only to the unstable surface rose sensations, stabs, and edges of desire, and passion's leaps and brief emotions' cries, a casual colloquy of flesh with flesh, and a murmur of heart to longing, wordless heart. Glimmerings of knowledge with no shape of thought, and jets of subconscious will or hunger pulls. All was dim sparkle on a foaming top. It whirled around a drifting shadow self on an inconscient flood of force and time. There came the pressure of a seeing power that drew into all a dancing, turbid mass, circling around a single luminous point. Center of reference in a conscious field, figure of a unitary light within. It lit the impulse of the half-sentient flood. Even an illusory gave a fixity, as if a sea could serve as a firm soil. That strange observing power imposed its right. It forced on flux a limit and a shape. It gave its stream to a lower narrow bank, drew lines to snare the spirit's formlessness. It fashioned the life mind of a bird and beast, the answer of the reptile and the fish, the primitive pattern of the thoughts of man, a finite movement of the infinite, came winging its way through a wider air of time. A march of knowledge moved in nescience and guarded in the form of a separate soul. Its right to be immortal it reserved, but built a wall against the siege of death and threw a hook to clutch eternity. A thinking entity appeared in space. A little ordered world broke into view, where being had prison room for act and sight. A floor to walk, a clear but scanty range. An instrument personality was born, and a restricted, clamped intelligent, consent to confine in narrow bounds its seeking. It tied the thought to visible things, prohibiting the adventure of the unseen and the soul's tread through unknown infinities. A reflex reason, nature's habit's glass, illumined life to know and fix its field, accept a dangerous ignorant brevity, in the inclusive purpose of its walk, and profit by the hour's precarious chance in the allotted boundaries of fate. A little joy and knowledge satisfied, this little being tied into a knot and hung on a bulge of its environment, a little curve cut off its measureless space, a little span of life in all vast time. A thought was there that planned, a will that strove, but for small aims with a narrow scope, wasting unmeasured toil on transient things. It knew itself a creature of the mud. It asked no larger law, no loftier aim. It had no inward look. No upward gaze, a backward scholar on logic's rickety bench, indoctrinated by the erring sense it took appearance form the face of God. For casual lights the marching of the suns, for heaven a starry strip of doubtful blue, aspects of being feigned to be the whole. There was a voice of busy interchange, a marketplace of trivial thoughts and acts, a life soon spent a mind, the body's slave. Here seemed the brilliant crown of nature's work, and tiny egos took the world as a means to sate a while dwarf lust and brief desires. In a death-closed passage saw life start and end, as though a blind alley were creation's sign, as if for this the soul had coveted birth, and in the wonderland of a self-creating world and the opportunities of cosmic space, this creature, passionate only to survive, fettered to puny thoughts with no wide range, and to the body needs and pangs and joys, this fire growing by its fuel's death, increased by what it seized and made its own, it gathered and grew and gave itself to none. Only it hoped for greatness in its den, and pleasure and victory in small fields of power, and conquest of life room for self and kin, an animal limited by its feeding space. It knew not the immortal in its house. It had no greater, deeper cause to live. I hope y'all are enjoying this. I sure am. It's a great book. Best poem ever written. Please hit the like and subscribe button. In limits, only it was powerful, acute to capture the truth for outward use. Its knowledge was the body's instrument, absorbed in the little works of its prison house. It turned around the same unchanging points and in the same circle of interest and desire, but thought itself the master of its jail. Although for action, not for wisdom made, thought was its apex, or its gutter's rim. I like that. Thought was its apex or its gutter's rim. It saw an image of the external world, and saw its surface self, but knew no more. Out of a slow, confused, embroiled self-search, mind grew to a clarity cut out, precise. A gleam enclosed in a stone, ignorance, in this bound thinking's narrow leadership tied to the soil, inspired by common things, attached to a confined, familiar world, amid the multitude of her motive plots, her changing actors and her million masks. Life was a play, monotonously the same. That my belly. Monotonously the same. There were no vast perspectives of the spirit, no swift invasions of unknown delight, no golden distances of wide release. This petty state resembles our human days, but fixed to eternity of changeless type. I love this puppy dog. A moment's movement doomed to last through time, extincts bridge like span the inconscient gulfs, a half-illumined building in a mist, which from a void of form arose to sight, and jutted out into a void of soul, a little light into a great darkness born. Life knew not where it went, nor whence it came, and floated, and around all floated still the nescient haze. Period. End of Canto 4. Next, we'll start reading Canto 5, The Godheads of the Little Life. Thank you for joining me and these sweet puppy dogs as I read SAVITRI by Sri Aurobindo. Hope everybody's enjoying it. And remember, please subscribe and hit the like button. Miss Piggy would be very happy if you did. Sending out healing, love, and light to all parties involved for the benefit of all humanity, HUE. We're all one. Be the change you want to see in the world today. Todos somos uno. Muy bien. See y'all soon.